Kitten, Daddy's gonna kill himself. Are we gonna play some bets about who's gonna pop some motorcycle tires first? I personally feel like Whittaker and Abbott are too obvious. I'm gonna place my bets on that CPR doll. So obviously we're gonna be talking about Robby in this episode and how his suicidal tendencies are getting a little bit more out there, you know, a bit more obvious. For this episode, I'm going to focus on the relationships that Robby has with, like, a bunch of other people in the show. The most interesting to me being with Whittaker. Get your minds out of the gutter. So, at the center of this is Robby, and then surrounding him will be... I'm going to have to read this out. Abbott, Langdon... Shit. There he goes again. Breaking his back. Ogilvy, Javadi, Santos, Dana, Al-Hashimi, and Whittaker. It's a lot of people, but they all have these moments that I want to talk about. Let's start with Abbott, Robby's closest friend, probably, and definitely the most understanding. They both rely on each other to just stand on the edge of the roof and be there for each other, calling each other back down to the pit. It's a very healthy relationship. Abbott and Robby have an interesting conversation together, which really highlights the priorities that they have to each other. Robby asks Abbott how he feels about Al-Hashimi, specifically, like, if he likes her more than him. This comes across as a bit of a joke, and Abbott takes it like that at first, but then also kind of clocks Robby's mood and quickly turns it into a small therapy session. If I said that this scene took my heart out, put it in a blender, made me drink it, and now I'm sitting watching Noah Wyle make these facial expressions with my heart in my stomach, I'd still not be communicating how much I wanted to throw up during these 10 seconds. It was disgusting. Give me 10 seasons. It's crazy that this scene came out after they won like 500 Emmys.
The Pitt. Catherine Lanassa.
Noah Wyle.
The Pitt. Noah Wyle.
Catherine Lanassa.
Sean Hennessy.
Noah Wyle.
Give him another round, okay? This feels like Abbott is one of the few people that Robby cannot lie to about how he's doing. If it was anyone else, he would probably have been like, yeah, I'll check in, you know? But the fact that Abbott digs so deep, just like arrow straight to the chest, being like, hey, if it gets dark, call me. And Robby's like, no one's ever said that to me. I think this is the first time that someone has actively addressed all the fucked up shit going on in Robby's brain, at least in the show. It is rough watching Robby basically confirm to us and to Abbott that this sabbatical is way beyond just a break from work. Then with Langdon, there's this small moment where Mel gets to choose which doctor she wants to treat her sister, and of course she chooses her nearest and dearest, a choice that seems to annoy Robby.
Sure.
It's interesting to see him erratically bouncing between disliking and distrusting Langdon to disliking but trusting him to just trying to ignore him altogether. It's clear that Robby's quite iffy on how he feels about his former star resident, but whatever it is, he does not want to deal with it right now. Together again. I think Abbott and Langdon have that in common with each other. They're both key parts of who Robby is, but they're of the past. A good part and a bad part. Abbott is a mirror of what his life has been, long shifts, losing people, and trying to deal with it in any way possible. And Langdon is this reminder of everything he's done wrong, everything he thought he was doing right, and then he's just broken beyond fixing. At least to Robby, because he's a dramatic little motherfucker. That was really mean. I feel mean taking shots at Robby, but at this point, like, hey, he's fictional. Okay, he's not listening to me. Then there's Ogilvy, Javadi, and Santos. All young, brilliant doctors who Robby treats like shit and with no empathy. Ogilvy, in a rare and lovely moment of being a little bit vulnerable, actually expresses to Robby the kind of difficulties he's been having at the ER. Okay, just to talk about Ogilvy for a second, we learned some interesting stuff about him this episode. He's treating a patient with Mohan, who's an English teacher, like his dad, is what he reveals. We also get the idea that he doesn't talk to his dad, doesn't like him. It's a bit vague.
You'd have to ask him.
Do any of these people have a good relationship with their parents? Langdon does help them move. Abbott, no idea. Santos, probably not. Ogilvy, apparently not. Javadi, it's iffy. Whittaker, I'm scared to know. Al-Hashimi, no idea. Dana, who knows. Robby has dead parents or something.
Stepped on me. Stepped on me? Are you kidding? This guy was dancing on me. I mean, just look at this.
broken, gone, broken.
I've fucking gone way off script. This episode with Ogilvy really just shows us that he had no idea what he was getting into when coming into the ER, which makes that moment a few episodes quite funny when he says that he feels like he was born to be here.
So that was a fucking lie.
I think the main thing from Ogilvy is that we don't actually know anything about what he wants or who he is. He's always being too much of a kiss-ass to actually express his own opinion and how he's feeling, which makes Robby shirking off this moment where Ogilvy's like, yeah, no, it wasn't great, it's not what I expected. And then Robby's just kind of like, yeah, well, whatever. Robby, this man struggles so much to admit that. And you've just fucking kicked him in the balls and given him a leg. Could have just given him an arm. Or a leg. So, Ogilvy, fumble number 1. Then with Javadi, we have this moment where Robby and Dana and everyone are taking questions from the whole staff, and Javadi has one, but instead of answering it, he tells her to put her hand down and be patient. And then Javadi makes, understandably, the most offended face I've ever seen on a person. She looks like she just got told she had to shoot her dog. And I don't even know why he did this. It's not like he got called away or anything. He literally just goes and banters with Dana for like 30 seconds after this. And then Javadi messes up with the system so bad that she nearly lets a patient die. So we don't know if this question being answered would have helped. It may be that Javadi was always going to mess up during this part. But there is a good chance that if Robby had taken the time to hear any of her concerns, we could have skipped this whole thing. And Javadi gets an absolute bollocking to, okay? Not Robby or Whittaker, who was like the doctor that she was presenting this case to. Javadi did. Robby ignores a question that causes big problems and then doesn't take any responsibility for it and doesn't even talk to Whittaker about his part in the responsibility for it. I hate to be fucking railing on him this whole time, but this is fumble number 2. Then with Santos, Santos. He's very unempathetic about her struggle to keep up with more patients and more charting. In fairness to him, what he's saying, I think, is correct. If you're a doctor, you need to prioritize the patients over the paperwork. That's just like part of the job. But the way that he communicates this is demeaning and it's rude. And Santos is already having a tough day, which he would know if he was paying attention, but he's not. All that he's doing is adding to her stress and making it even more difficult to actually get through the day, let alone the rest of her R2 year. Fumble number 3. So with each of his students, we see him doing surface level check-ins and half-baked pieces of advice. He is not setting any of them up for a successful career, he's just guaranteeing burnouts and breakdowns later down the line. Except with one of the students, but we'll get to that in a moment. With Dana, not a lot actually happens between them on this shift, but their relationship stays strong and important as ever. As viewers and to the doctors, Dana and Robby's relationship is like the backbone of the pit. It's the attending and the charge nurse, you know? And we see this in how they interact with each other. Last season, he'd check in on her, make sure she was okay, especially after she got attacked by that patient. But this season, he is way too wrapped up in his own problems to see that Dana is also really struggling. Granted, it's not like she's trying to tell him, but that's kind of how they work, I think. They lie to each other about how well they're doing, knowing that the other knows it's complete bullshit. But now Robby is missing things, like how Dana's thinking of smoking again. It's not him who kind of catches her on it, it's Emma. These two have supported each other for however long, but I think Robby's support is going to go out from under him if he doesn't start pulling his own weight. Now with Al-Hashimi, I think we're really starting to see Robby accept her and her role to play in the pit. As I said in the beginning, he's going around getting everyone's opinions of her, making sure that they like her and trust her enough that they'll be okay once he leaves her to run the pit. He's also backing up her idea to bring down radiology to the pit to get orders and x-rays done faster, which maybe in the beginning of the season he would have had more reservations about. I mean, he does kind of question it when the residents and doctors start getting distracted by the hot radiologist, which, by the way, I mentioned in episode whatever the fuck.
Write that down!
In episode 4. Another thing that became important. It's got meat on it. There's a hot radiologist and it's kind of important. But otherwise, I think he's trying to lead by example and put any problems he had aside and show everyone that he trusts her so they can trust her. Finally, it's time to address the Welshman in the room. This relationship is so interesting to me, not because I think they need to fuck, is because there's clear favoritism here. Robby is much more encouraging to Whittaker, he looks past his mistakes a little bit easier, and he's generally more concerned for his welfare. I think there's a glaring difference between Whittaker and the other doctors about why he might be the favourite. Whittaker is actually one of the few male doctors on shift. If we take away Langdon, for obvious reasons, and Ogilvy, it's his first shift, he's too new, Whittaker's the only male doctor that Robby could have any real positive relationship with. Of course, there's plenty of ladies for him to connect with. Not in that way, gross. But he doesn't. He chooses Whittaker to be like his protege. That's feeling like misogyny. Oh, that's poetic. Covering up Al-Hashimi with misogyny. Wow. But I don't think that's the only reason. It's definitely the buzzword reason. What is the other main difference between Robby's relationship with Whittaker and everybody else? Whittaker saw Robby's breakdown in peds. I mean, yeah, rumour did spread, and at least Langdon knows about it as well, maybe Dana, but Whittaker's the only one to have witnessed it and actually talked to Robby about it in a not-so-aggressive way.
I wasn't the one talking to cartoon animals and peds. Fuck you!
And I definitely think that has changed how Robby sees him. I think they've kind of trauma bonded, but it's kind of a one-way trauma bond, where Robby's like, you've seen me cry, so I can be as fucked up with you as I like, right? Or maybe like the opposite, honestly. It's like, you've seen me cry, so I need to make sure that you like me because I don't need you thinking that I'm insane. Probably the second one. That feels more like Robby, you know? This episode also has a big scene between the two where Robby gives Whittaker 3 things. His doctor badge, the metaphorical keys to his house while he's on sabbatical, and advice to stop being such a people pleaser and to take care of himself a little bit more. These 3 things feel like Robby passing the torch in a way. The badge is Robby saying, I trust your skills as a doctor, you're good at this, you deserve to be here. The house is a piece of himself and also is setting up Whittaker for success. He doesn't have to deal with a roommate or spending all of his money on rent. And the advice is a lesson in self-care that even Robby hasn't learned to do yet. The advice is quite interesting because it is so hypocritical. Now, Robby doesn't seem to have the same problems that Whittaker does, who's trying to make himself useful to as many people as possible, and he's a bit of a people pleaser, always trying to make sure that Santos isn't actually mad at him, when Santos is just like, can you leave me alone? He's like, no, wait, accept my apology. God, I hate people like that. It's just like, leave me alone, actually. I'm not mad, but I'm gonna hit you if you fucking say anything else. I'm doing fine. But obviously, Robby has a problem with letting his darker thoughts kind of come out into the open. If they ever do, he either laughs it off or runs away. We see it in this very scene.
If I don't come back, you gotta swing a bachelor pad.
Robby's try not to traumatize your new protege at least once a season challenge failed. This whole scene feels like, hey, you're good to carry on my legacy once I leave this place forever, right? Cool, I'm gonna go to the roof, I'll see you on the pavement. But here's the other thing. I think Robby is putting far too much faith in Whittaker. Not that he's doing a bad job or anything, but I think that Dear Dennis is a little bit too similar to motherfucking Michael than we anticipate. In this episode, we see Whittaker and McKay looking after a black female patient who's been having trouble with pain even after seeing a doctor. Dennis thinks they understand what's causing the problem, suggests to give her a thing and then discharge her.
She said she's feeling better. We can free up a bed.
Sound like anyone we know? Luckily, McKay stands up for the woman, does more testing, and figures out what is actually going on with her. Now, I am on the internet saying that the Pitt's favourite white boy may have some biases, so I want to clarify something. I don't think that Whittaker is racist or sexist. At least no more than everyone is a little bit racist or sexist, especially white men. He also grew up in buttfuck Nebraska with 3 brothers, an uncle, and no women mentioned so far. Probably no people of color either. Of course he's gonna have some bias. This is not his fault. He just needs to learn from it and get rid of it, which he's doing. You know, every mistake is a step forward. Every mistake is a step forward. Put that on a t-shirt. He has biases in the same way that Robby has a bias towards his male students. Except Robby is like 50, so he should learn to grow out of it by now. Sorry. But obviously Robby doesn't see this problem within Whittaker, so what he's doing by raising him up is just kind of replacing himself with himself, rather than helping someone who could do better and be better. And another small point, I don't think that Robby knows about Whittaker's homelessness. One of the reasons he lists for Whittaker to take his house is that he doesn't have to pay rent there. But as far as we're aware, he doesn't pay rent with Santos anyway. He can't fucking afford it. But apparently, Robby doesn't know this, and Whittaker doesn't correct him on it. He doesn't want to let Robby know the extent of his brokenness. Of course, being unhoused hasn't really affected his work, so I doubt that it would really affect how Robby feels about him. Not like that. Jesus. But the fact that Robby didn't notice that Whittaker had nowhere to live for several months before coming to the pit feels like a misstep. It just shows that he doesn't really know him. And I think that this is kind of on purpose from Robby. With Whittaker being the last student standing who hasn't really done anything to piss him off, I think the idea that Whittaker has something in his past that could affect his work is something that Robby doesn't want to know about. Which is exactly the same thing that happened with Langdon. Robby was so focused on his own problems and running the ER, and he just relied on Langdon being the golden child that he completely missed when Langdon was on drugs. Somehow, Robby hasn't learned his lesson yet, and he might not until Whittaker has to deal with something that brings out a flaw in him from his unhoused era, or even from whatever Mormon-ass upbringing he had. Okay, that feels good to get out of my system. I've really been building up my thoughts about Whittaker for the past few weeks, but there's been no reason to really talk about it so far. Until today. I genuinely do not trust this man to be this good all of the time. He's gonna have something that's fucking it up. So with all these characters, we can kind of categorize them into 3 parts. Abbott and Langdon are part of the past. One good, one bad, both avoided like the plague. Dana, the students, plus Santos are in the here and now. They're a reminder of how the system is shit and that people are really struggling with it. And then Al-Hashimi and Whittaker are like beacons for the future. A future without Robby in it. I'm so sorry, Al-Hashimi. You've been fucking hidden. That's on me. That's not on you, girl. Everything about this episode is screaming psych hold. This man is not planning on coming back from his sabbatical on God. He is slowly but surely taking steps back from everyone, including us as the audience. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the bathrooms again, so if this is like too deep of an analysis, fair enough, I understand. The toilet thing, it's up there. So in season 1, God, that was such a walk in the park compared to this season, it feels like, Jesus. There were several moments when we would enter the bathroom with Robby, as well as other characters. Don't worry, I already feel like a fucking perv for talking about it, so no need to call me out. We see him in there for the regular piss break, as well as a quick little emotional breakdown, the full range of activities that can happen in a bathroom. Then in season 2, we see this continue a bit with Javadi and Santos. But in this episode, we see Robby walking into a bathroom and we don't actually follow him. Not that I want to see him piss. A couple episodes ago, when we were talking about Javadi and Santos in the bathroom, I mentioned how the toilet is like a place of vulnerability in the pit, as well as in real life. We basically always go in there when something that was hidden is revealed. Pregnancies, breakdowns, scars, you get it. This is a literal wall Robby's putting between him and the audience. The only other time that this happens that I can remember is in season 1 when a young woman locks herself in the bathroom to escape from her mum. We are kept outside the toilet, as is Collins and the rest of the pit. Robby and this side character are being treated the same in this moment. Big difference from last season, and even the beginning of season 2, when he is definitely our point of view character. With all these points combined, it is pretty clear that Robby is trying to take a step back from the pit permanently. But I imagine the people around him are going to try and stop him. I mean, we're already seeing Whittaker and Abbott noticing that something is off about the boy. It's just a question of who else will notice it and if anyone's going to do anything about it. The next 6 episodes are going to be key for this fight. And that is it for the Robby-centric episode. Apologies, I guess, if you don't like his character, but I do, so I wanted to talk about him. But let us not forget about all the other shit that happened this episode. Let's go! Langdon is very good with treating Becca. He's got one trick for helping people with autism, and by God, he's gonna use it. We have like a whole new cast of people to help out with the internet shutdown. I don't have their names right now, but I will let you know if they become important. Mohan has the realization that her mum might just be lonely, hence all of the calling. Yeah, she's empathetic to her patients, but apparently blind when it comes to her family. Abbott apparently does nude yoga in the morning, and Robby knows about this. Sean Hattasy, your fingerprints are all over this script. And I know he wasn't one of the writers. I'm just saying, over their shoulders, just being like, wait. I got an idea. You're gonna love this. Joy is great at everything, including radiology. The Pit is for women, and women only, okay? Honestly, if you got all of the men out of there, the problems would be gone. It all comes back to the men. Princess cheated to win the betting board. I don't give a fuck. That's hilarious. What a queen. What if everyone finds out that Wicker's homeless and then Princess feels bad for, like, cheating to get that money and gives him his money back? That feels like the only resolution we would have to this. I don't think there needs to be a resolution. I think it's just a thing. But I'm kind of curious if that comes back into play, how it would. Mohan and Ogilvy are working together this episode, and they're pretty chill together, you know? They got nothing on Ogilvy, but I'll take it. Mel finally takes a minute away from the ER and has a small little break. Good for you, girl! There's a scene where Robby, Javadi, and Whitaker are running around looking for an x-ray like the Mystery Gang. It is fucking hilarious to watch. It's a tough scene, but out of context, they're like, it must be over here, and then it went here, and here, and it must be over there, go! Javadi's Velma, obviously. Is Whitaker Shaggy? No, he's too high-strung. I was gonna say Whitaker's Daphne. Robby's Scooby. I'm just gonna give him that. And Langdon has a problem when these two women are like flirting with him because he is loyal. We love that. I'd also like to take this moment to discuss the mystery of the break room doll. Bitch, someone put it in there and dressed it up.
Who's the Joker that did this?
I've got suspects, but I'll only say this. Who was seen moving the doll last? I rest my case. And as for this episode's Michael moments, we've already covered them all. At this point, though, I'm tempted to rename it to Michael needs to be put on a watch list moments, but I already made the title card, so no. This episode was a doozy. Sean Hattie, congratulations on your Pitt directorial debut. I'm going to send you my banking details so you can send me the money for my therapy bills, please. While you're at it, make sure to get the writers to pitch in, making an even 4-way split. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know that Robby's kind of a controversial figure right now, but at this point, I just need him to want to get professional help before we start demanding apologies from him. With that, I shall leave you. If you want to find out what I've got to say about the next episode, that will be out on Thursday. If this is your first episode you're watching, crazy. I've done these for the rest of the episodes in season 2, so check them out, baby. Okay, I will catch you later. Ta-ta!